The following program discusses sensitive issues related to addictive behavior. Parents are cautioned that some material may be too candid for younger children.
Welcome back. Out of all of the things that we cover here and all of the testimonies that we do here, Adam, this is probably one of the most intense, because I can just see exactly what got you to this moment. But now this guy is dead. And what is the next thing? I mean, you knew he was dead before you drove away, did you?
No.
Okay.
He passed away a couple days later. I ended up getting arrested over it, and just started this whole court process of, trying to figure out, what's going to happen to me after that.
So you're getting arrested for murder?
Yeah.
Okay.
He passed away. They charged me with first-degree murder. There was cameras, and my story was in the newspaper every day, locally.
Can I ask you, when you talked about, remember that when you said that part of you that split off and went into a quiet place, were you just freaking out? Could you still hide in that quiet place?
I'm not sure. That time was a big blur.
Okay.
It was a lot happening. I don't know if it was just me being constantly inside of myself and just not even being there. Mm-hmm. But it was just a lot of stuff happening all at once. I was charged, I was arrested. All the people that I hurt, at that time I still didn't care about that aspect of it, mm-hmm. but there was a lot of people that were just, destroyed on both ends of that. I think of myself, that was the first time I kind of wanted to lean on God. At the time, I thought I had pure intentions. It was just I wanted to get out of trouble.
Right.
I
just didn't want to go to prison.
I just didn't want to get in trouble and have to deal with the consequences of it. But on the surface, I thought I wanted to change my life.
Right.
But I didn't. I just wanted to not be in trouble for the things that I've done, and
mm-hmm.
I wanted to be.
Because murder's a big sentence. Somebody calls it. You can get a toe tag sentence. Well, you're not going to get out until you're dead and your toe is tagged. Yeah. So some people are looking at even that, and you knew that was part of what you were looking at.
Yeah, and so I was actually probably more trying to make a deal with God to get me out of this situation, and then I would change my life. I wasn't actually wanting to change my life.
Yeah. So what happened next?
So I'm going through the court process. I started attempting to go to church. And
in jail? In jail.
I believe I had good intentions, but the core of it was just that I wanted to not be in trouble.
But because I have to say that a lot of people, I'm well aware of what the environment is like in jail, because you have a whole culture in jail, and that violence carries over from the streets right into the cell. Mm-hmm. So even stepping into that culture, you really have to watch your back, and you really have to know what you're doing in order to survive in that environment.
Mm-hmm. And it's a different environment. You just have to survive. You have to become an animal. Mm-hmm. You cannot be soft. You cannot have feelings. To survive, you have to just become an animal. And with me also, there was a lot of people that wanted to come after me also, mm-hmm. in jail, in prison.
Because of this particular murder?
Because of what I did.
Okay.
And so I also had a lot of people, I had a contract out of my life inside, and so I had to watch out for that also. Mm-hmm.
Because you were not a nice guy prior to getting there.
No.
And that's what I think a lot of, that to me I heard along your journey, is that I've heard a lot of people, so now I'm in a place where I can't run, and a lot of those people's friends are saying, you know what, we got him. He's right here.
And, throughout all that, even though I wasn't aware of it at the time, God was protecting me for something bigger. I continued to go, through the entire trial. I ended up, the jury found me not guilty of first-degree murder, but found me guilty of voluntary manslaughter. Mm-hmm. And so I was sentenced to 11 or 12 years in prison. And so the next step of my life was I go in there. And as soon as that happened, as soon as I was sentenced and I had to actually go to prison, I completely dropped all the God stuff. Mm-hmm. Because like I said earlier, my intentions weren't to change my life. I was just agreeing to change my life if I didn't get in trouble. And so once I got in trouble, the deal was out the window and I didn't care anymore.
Yeah,
and
I don't need you anymore.
And I started to believe in God. And so when that happened, I blamed him also, just because I always needed somebody to blame.
Right.
Everybody except for myself. And so I just blamed God, and I actually started to grow worse in prison. I was still violent. I just constantly was doing drugs. But in there,
I hate when you say that, but I know it's true, that you can get anything you want in most prisons.
Yeah, you can get anything you want in prisons. It's a sad fact of life. Mm-hmm.
So nothing has changed. I just can't. I'm stuck in this square.
Stuck in the square. Just hating, violent. I just, living the life. I just became a complete monster. I got a letter from my mother asking if she could come visit me. And my situation with my mother was the same as with everybody else. There was a point where she couldn't stand me because she was just afraid of me, and I could care less about her. But I agreed to let her come visit, and it was really awkward. I guess I can sum it up by saying when she left, I got up, and instead of hugging my mother goodbye, even though I was going to be in prison for 10 years, I shook her hand.
Wow. That's how disconnected you guys
were. That's how disconnected we were. I shook her hand. But I started allowing her to come. There was this weird small seed planted in me.
I just want to cry for you and for her. Yeah.
She went through so much.
Mm-hmm. For both of you.
I cry about still to this day. I mean, I've given the guilt and everything over to God, but I just feel so bad about everything that I put her through.
So she continued to come visit.
Yeah.
You allowed it.
I allowed it. Eventually, we started getting more cordial, and and I started having. There was a lot of people that are in prison that are lifers that can't get out, but they want to change. They've changed their lives. They just can't get out, and so they saw something in me, and they were trying to give me, good advice, influence, even though I was a young, just knucklehead kid who didn't care. But I would listen, and they told me, they said that the first thing that broke the ice that I realized that there was something really wrong with my thinking is they go, "Why did you shake your mom's hand when she left?" And they're like, "That's really weird. You didn't give her a hug. You shook her hand like it was a business deal or something." And I'm like,
I don't know.
Is that normal? Isn't that normal? And they're like, "No, that's not normal at all." And I was like, really? And I didn't understand that. So I don't know, I just started getting old. The whole life was just getting old. And I was running out of options. And so I just slowly started listening to the advice of these people that they were giving me. And they're like, try, even though you don't mean it, to just give your mom a hug. Tell her that it's not her fault that you're in here. And I'm like, I know it's not her fault. And they're like, well, she doesn't know that.
Yeah.
And I remember I told her that one time, and she just started bawling.
Oh.
I was like, and I realized, you really think it's your fault that I'm in here, huh? Because my thinking was so messed up. I didn't know how to associate with people. And I realized that. And that's when I started realizing that everything I was doing was really hurting everybody else too. The real breaking moment where I just wanted to change for the first real time ever was when my 10-year-old brother came to visit me. And this was just absolutely heartbreaking, because when he went to leave, you know, he's 10 years old. He didn't do anything. I could blame everybody else, but I could not find a reason to blame him. So, you know, he looked at me and he just started crying. And I said, "You want me to come with you, huh?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "I can't." And he started bawling. And I remember going back just feeling like the worst person in the world, because everybody else had hurt me, so I justified why they were hurt by me. But he never did anything to me except love me. It was the worst pain I've ever felt inside of me. I just hated myself. But I just couldn't believe I did that to him. And so I just, you know, I wanted to change.
For the first time ever.
For the first time ever. I wasn't 100% into changing, but I wanted to for the first time. I wanted to because I just felt horrible.
What an incredible, you know, I feel like at that point all of heaven knows that, man, we can now go in and start to bring some health and love and mending to this kid. And for the first time ever, you're open to it.
And so slowly, they have like programs inside where I would allow myself to go to like different group therapy sessions, and I had to completely just build myself up from the ground up. I had no idea how to associate or talk with people in general. I had no social skills.
And even there was no social skills, no foundation. When you talk about, like, even when you told us a little bit even about your story, there is no, I don't think you had anything to reach in and find. Yeah. You have to literally say to people around you, what do I need? What's my next step?
I did. I told them, I said, I don't know how to be, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to talk to people. I don't know how to associate. My reaction to everything is getting mad, no matter what. I don't know what to do. And so it was a slow process. And at this time, it had nothing to do with even God still yet. It was just pure psychological help. And so I started going to these programs, and I actually got into these programs where, like a school schedule, I would just go to therapy classes all day, and they would work on certain parts of what to help me, challenging me, or just helping me. And it was different aspects of psychology, different aspects of just being social with people, different aspects of etiquette, morality, whatever. And I would go just like a school schedule all day, and I would just live in this program and do that all day for about 2 years. And then overall, I did about 6 years of just constant, almost 24/7 therapy for 6 years before I got to the point where I was ready to actually start and accept what I had done and start dealing with problems.
Wow.
But I had to learn how to be a person first before I could learn how to help what had been broken inside of me.
And even that, you know, I love when you say that, Adam, because you said, you know, like I had to learn how to be human before I could learn that, man, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You know, that what I did was
learn
not okay.
What emotions were.
Yeah.
And how to deal with them.
Wow.
So 6 or 7 years in, I got to the point where I was ready to really work on myself. I was ready to really give myself over to God. And keep in mind, this whole time, I'm still doing lots of drugs. I'm just, you know, I didn't know how to do anything. I'm still just high 24/7 because I'm not ready to just be alone with myself. And I actually got invited to this class at the church chapel called Celebrate Recovery. I had known nothing about it. I'd never heard about it. I don't even know who signed me up and invited me. but I went for some reason, and
Incredible.
I loved it. I loved the people. I loved the honesty. It wasn't fake, you know. And they were able to say that the reason that they've changed is God, you know, as opposed to, you know, higher power. I'm not putting that down. It's a wonderful thing, but we were able to openly say, God is the reason I'm not doing drugs every day.
Amen.
And he's the only reason. He's the only reason that I've changed my life. He's the only reason that my family loves again, you know, and I'm saying the same thing now, today.
And so at one point, we talked about, even at the beginning of the program, optimism or hope or faith.
Yeah.
You know, that you started to have faith that there is a God bigger than this that can actually pull me out of this craziness.
Yeah. Well, I looked at it and I'm like, some people were giving me this story, well, yeah, you can go to church, but you're still human, you're going to sin. And I'm thinking, well, that gives the devil more power than God. And at this point, I did believe in God, and I'm thinking, no, God has more power than the devil.
Right.
So he does have the power to change you. And that's what I was thinking. If people are taught that even though you want to change, you're still not going to because you're still just human, you're still going to sin, then you're taking a lot of power away from God, and you're
Amen.
saying that the devil actually is more powerful than him in that aspect. And I don't believe he is.
And I love that, because you're talking about from a gangster, for somebody on the street, somebody that power stuff is important, that balance of power is important. And you're saying, are you kidding me? You want me to step over and give my life to the somebody that can't do it? And what I really believe, I love what you said, because I believe that, is God can do it. The balance of the power is not even close. The devil may scare us or lie to us and say he has more power, but it's all bravado. It's not true.
And a lot of people are taught that. I think it's sad, but you know, I think that's the activating power, especially even if it's just not even from a religious standpoint, just a psychological standpoint. If you don't believe something's possible, then you're never going to accomplish it.
Exactly.
If you believe that it can be accomplished, you know, even though there's naysayers and people saying you can't do it, if you believe you can still do it, then you're going to do it.
Yeah.
You know?
And you had to believe it.
Yeah,
I mean, if you're going to have somebody like you, if you're going to change my life, you've got to be for real.
Yeah.
Because this is serious stuff.
Yeah, I had some pretty major problems to fix, so I wasn't going to be anything less than a supernatural force.
Yeah.
You know, God himself coming down and doing a miracle to change me.
That's incredible.
And so, you know what I mean? It was, if you're just talking about, you know, telling a lie and every once in a while stealing something and stuff like that, then you can excuse the fact that you're just human, you're going to sin. But I had a different level of stuff that needed to be fixed, and that explanation didn't work for that. I needed something that was really going to change me miraculously.
I need a miracle.
And so I knew, you know, logically that God has to be more powerful than the devil. So if he can change me, then he can.
And so you surrender.
And so I surrendered.
That's powerful.
Yeah. But I had to realize that first. I had to realize that he could do that despite everything else before I was going to take that step. And I did, and I stopped doing drugs. 2006, October 18th.
Yeah.
Is when I stopped. And
in prison.
In prison. And I stopped doing that. I started going to church. I really gave it a chance.
So you know what I want to know, Adam? When is the first time you actually felt joy for the first time? Because how cool is that?
Probably about, after I really decided to change my life, about 6 or 8 months later, when my mom, and I could see it in her eyes, she realized I was really changing. And she's my mom, so she's always been proud of me, but I could just see that she knew that I was actually changing.
Yeah.
And the joy that brought her to know that made me, for the first time ever, just really just be really happy about what was going on, and just be able to just say, I like my life right now.
And you go back to the time, and I don't know if we actually go back to the time, but to the time as a little boy, that's all you ever wanted, to have this family that was right, that felt love and joy and happiness. And for even years later, after all of that drama, all of that stuff, in prison, for that moment, you got it because of God. How cool is that?
And it was just the best feeling in the world.
Yeah.
After that, I started just, reevaluating everything. Why can't I go to college? So I enrolled in college. I'm still trying to go. I've gotten an associate's degree in psychology. Just why can't I just completely change my life?
Right.
Every aspect of it and just start over, and that's what I did.
So even when you said you fragmented and you created these personalities, how did God kind of bring that back together?
See, that's a weird one. That one's just a miracle, because I don't know the exact moment that He healed me of that. But I remember waking up one day and thinking back in the past 6 months and thinking, wait, that hasn't been there. I don't know when it actually left, but I remember thinking back and thinking, that's not there anymore.
Amen.
And
Amen.
And especially that, there's nothing that can take. There's no amount of psychological help that can take that away.
It's a miracle.
You can manage it, but there's nothing that's just going to take it away. And I remember just thinking, that's a miracle. That's what that is.
I want to say, and then you got out of jail, which is another thing that's a miracle. After how long?
After 10 years.
So 10 years, you get out of jail, readjusting to, before we go in there, I know that a few people in the cafe have questions they want to ask. Okay. I think we need another hour with just you and I, but we're going to open it up to the cafe. I know, Pastor Jim, you're here visiting us. Do you have a question for him? Comment?
Adam, I have a question. Just a minute ago, Cherie was asking you about the first time that you recall feeling joy. And it made me think about something I've read in some of the literature. There's a sociologist that's studied a lot about human connection, Brene Brown, and she says that joy is probably the most vulnerable of all human emotions, and that oftentimes people that experience joy sometimes will trigger back into old behaviors or patterns of living. How have you been able to experience joy and continue to walk in joy?
I think to continue in it is I've also, I started teaching Bible study classes. I started telling my story. And when I can see that people relate, and when I see that I'm helping lead people to the Lord, helping them understand the Bible better, or just having them relate to a story that they think nobody else ever would, because they have the same story as me, and you just think nobody lives that type of life. I feel content. And my whole life I never really felt joy. I never really felt content. And even though, it's vulnerable, I love it. I've never felt that before, and it's a good feeling, and I've never felt good feelings before, and so I wouldn't trade that for anything else. And so if I ever feel like reverting back to my old life, it was so bad, it's almost like a no-brainer. It's so bad, I'm not going to go back to that pain. I'm just going to stay here and be content, follow God, and have Him just continue to bless my life and have me be happy, because this is all I've ever wanted.
I have to say that, Adam, in most 12-step programs, they will say step 12 is that you go out and tell someone and you share your story, and you be able to do that, and part of that will keep you in recovery. So, and like you said, is every time all of the stuff that even the enemy or the devil meant to destroy you with, God is using it to build up someone with. And there is something that's really incredible about that all things work together for good to those that love God. How can your story work together for good, yet you see it in front of you all the time now?
It's like you said, it's what the devil used to hold me down what he used to hold, you know, for me to think about and just be shameful and just disgusted at myself. What used to be my worst enemy, you know, inside myself is my old past and all that, I now use as a weapon against him.
Amen.
So the exact same thing he was using as a weapon against me, I take it and I say, oh yeah, well now I'm going to share my story, and I'm going to use the exact same thing against you.
And I'm going to watch God bless it.
Mm-hmm.
That's so cool. We have Bonnie, you had a question.
My question is kind of similar to his. Is just how now when you come across situations that make you angry, how do you deal with anger now?
I don't want to say it's not easy. It's a lot of hard work, you know. You got to get up every day. You got to pray. You got to read the Bible. You got to get
Stay
yourself,
connected.
You got to stay connected to the Spirit. You got to have the spiritual protection, as opposed to, you know, you can want to do it, you know, be changed and not go back, but you're still, every once in a while, you're going to have the temptation to do it. So you need something else with you that's going to overpower your own shortcomings, and that's what God does for me. And so you have to just get up and make sure you pray, listen to Him, read the Bible every day, and just go out there and know that you're not out there alone. And don't be scared to ask Him for help when you need it.
That's incredible. Because there's for years and years and years in your life, you never asked anybody for help.
Yeah,
you know, you're
hard.
going to do it on your own. And so the fact that God says, I'd like you to submit to me, I'd like you to surrender to me, and let me help you, that's a huge step, just that, in your recovery.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of you. I just have to
you.
say that. Okay, one more question. Brad, you had a question.
I do, and I just want to first say thank you for sharing your story, because I believe lots of men, probably women too, but I'll speak for the men, at least the ones that I know, deal with anger, maybe not to the level that you experienced it, but I can speak personally. It's certainly an issue that I've dealt with, as Cherie knows all too well, and she calls me the puffer fish sometimes, you know, but that, for being able to speak of that and put it on the table is tremendous. I want to kind of ask a different kind of question, because I was commenting earlier about, dude, you would never think that this was part of your past by how you look now. And so I just would like to know, how's your mom feeling now? How's your 10-year-old brother? Well, he's not 10 anymore, but you know, what's that like for you to be in this place now? And I'm sure it brings joy to them to see what has happened.
It's awesome. Because everybody in my family has changed also. We all kind of, when I started over, they started over also. Stepfather included, everybody. We're all just, we make sure we tell each other we love each other all the time. We give each other hugs at all times. We try to spend time with each other. It's just, one of my favorite things to do is just to sit and talk with my family and just laugh and just spend time with them. I love them to death. I love laughing with my little brother. I love laughing with my dad. I love laughing with my mom, and just, just spending time with them. It just really brings a smile on my face, even just thinking about it right now, just being with them. I love them all so much.
And you don't take that for granted?
No.
What's really incredible.
Because I know it is important.
Yeah.
I've had the opposite. I've had, no family. And so I just cherish every moment with them, and I just love them to death.
Amen. We're gonna take a break and then come back and do a close. And I'd like you to come back, and I'm going to ask you two things. I'm going to ask you to speak to the family that is watching their loved one that's so lost in their hatred and their anger and spinning out of control, maybe even in prison. And then I'm asking you to speak to that guy that doesn't know how to come out of that. Okay, would you join me?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll be right back. Aren't you proud of God? I'm so proud of God that He said nothing is too big for me. Nothing. I can go into the most hopeless situation and breathe life into that, bring joy to that, bring hope, optimism, and health to that. All you have to do is give me anything, and I will bless you. Just make the first step, even if it's a baby step. We'll be right back.